There's a moment just before someone chooses to cancel plans. The phone is in their hand, the message is already typed. Sorry, I can't make it. But what happens next is the part no one talks about. A slow exhale, a glance toward the empty room, and then a strange sense of relief that feels almost too quiet to be normal. Not happiness, not sadness, something else, something closer to control. And if you've ever felt that, if silence has ever felt more comforting than people, then you already understand something most people don't. Alone isn't empty. Sometimes it's where the mind finally starts speaking clearly. We have been taught a simple equation. More social connection equals more happiness. But psychology keeps finding something unsettling underneath that idea. Some people don't just tolerate solitude, they prefer it. Not out of fear, not out of trauma, but by design. So the real question becomes, why does the human mind sometimes choose isolation over connection, even when connection is available? And more importantly, what kind of mind is built that way? Segment 1, the evolutionary contradiction of solitude. From an evolutionary standpoint, humans were never meant to be alone. Survival depended on tribes. Safety depended on groups. Even identity was shaped collectively. So why would any brain evolve to enjoy isolation? The answer begins in a strange contradiction. Modern neuroscience shows that solitude activates the brain's default mode network, a system involving the medial prefrontal cortex and posterior cingulate cortex. This network becomes active when you are not focused on the external world, but on yourself. Memory, imagination, self-reflection. In simple terms, solitude turns the brain inward. But here's where it gets darker. Studies from the University of Chicago found something interesting. People who regularly choose solitude show higher emotional self-regulation and lower dependence on external validation systems. That means their reward system, linked heavily to dopamine, responds less intensely to social approval. Likes, messages, attention, compliments. For most people, these act like small dopamine spikes. For solitude-preferring individuals, the spike is weaker, not absent, just quieter, which creates a strange psychological profile. They are not disconnected from people, they are less rewarded by them. And that changes everything, because when social interaction stops being a reward, it starts becoming a choice, not a need. Segment 2, the brain that prefers quiet. To understand solitude, we need to look at two key regions of the brain, the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. The amygdala is the alarm system. It reacts to emotional intensity, especially social threat, rejection, judgment, conflict. For highly social individuals, the amygdala fires quickly in isolation because silence can be interpreted as disconnection. But in people who prefer solitude, something different happens. Their amygdala response is often less reactive to social absence. This doesn't mean they don't feel. It means they are less threatened by emotional silence. Now enter the prefrontal cortex, the brain's executive control center. This region is responsible for planning, reflection, and emotional regulation. In solitude-preferring individuals, research suggests stronger top-down regulation from the prefrontal cortex over emotional impulses. Translation: where others feel emotional discomfort and seek distraction through social interaction, they stay, they process, they think, and sometimes they spiral into deep introspection that feels almost infinite. This is why solitude is often misunderstood. From the outside, it looks like avoidance. From the inside, it feels like clarity. But there is a thin line between reflection and over-reflection, between peace and isolation, and the brain walks that line constantly. Segment 3, the psychology of selective isolation. Not all solitude is the same. Psychologists differentiate between lonely isolation and chosen solitude. Loneliness is painful. Chosen solitude is structured. And this distinction is critical. A landmark study published in the journal Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin found that individuals who choose solitude report higher creativity, stronger internal identity, lower social anxiety, greater emotional stability. But here's the twist. These same individuals also show a pattern of what researchers call selective social depletion. They don't dislike people. They just experience social energy as finite. Every conversation has a cost. Every interaction requires processing. Every group environment demands adaptation. And eventually, the brain signals enough, not as rejection, but as regulation. This is where personality psychology introduces the concept of introverted autonomy. It's not about being shy. It's about being internally complete without external stimulation. And this is where solitude becomes psychologically powerful, because in silence there is no performance, no interpretation, no social decoding, only raw cognition. But that power has a shadow. When overused, solitude can reinforce cognitive loops. Thoughts repeat, memories intensify, emotions deepen without interruption. And without balance, the mind can mistake isolation for safety, even when it is not. Segment 4, the darker edge, when solitude turns inward. Not all solitude is peaceful. Some of it becomes recursive. People who spend excessive time alone often show increased activity and self-referential thinking patterns, especially within the default mode network. This is the same network linked to rumination and depression studies. A Harvard study on mind wandering found something important. When the mind is left unstimulated for long periods, it does not become empty. It becomes self-focused, and self-focus can turn into reflection, analysis, or rumination. The difference is subtle. Reflection builds understanding. Rumination builds emotional loops, and solitude intensifies both. This is why some people feel clarity when alone, while others feel stuck in their head. Same environment, different internal architecture. And this is where personality diverges, because solitude doesn't change who you are. It amplifies what is already there. If your mind is structured toward clarity, solitude becomes a laboratory. If your mind is structured toward anxiety, solitude becomes an echo chamber. And the brain simply continues what it starts. In highly creative individuals, solitude often enhances associative thinking. The brain connects unrelated ideas. Memory fragments resurface. Ideas merge that would not normally coexist in social environments. But there is a cost. The same cognitive openness that fuels originality also increases vulnerability to internal absorption. The mind that creates worlds often withdraws from the one it lives in, and solitude becomes both fuel and consequence. The twist in application. Now here's where it becomes personal. You might think this only applies to people who live alone, but solitude isn't just physical, it's psychological. Have you ever been in a crowded room and still felt like you were observing everything from a distance? Have you ever laughed in a group while your mind was somewhere else entirely? That is internal solitude, and modern life amplifies it. Social media creates connected isolation. Constant presence, minimal depth. The brain receives interaction without emotional grounding. And over time, something subtle happens. You begin to crave not more people, but less noise. Not rejection, but relief. And that's where the misunderstanding begins. So the real mystery is not why some people like being alone. The real mystery is what happens when the mind becomes so comfortable in its own internal world that the external world starts to feel optional. Because at that point, solitude stops being a preference. It becomes a structure, a habit, a system of thinking that no longer needs interruption. And once a mind adapts to that silence too completely, re-entering the noise of people doesn't feel comforting anymore. It feels invasive, unstable, unnecessary. And that raises a question psychology is still struggling to fully answer. When a mind learns to be completely alone without distress, is it truly strong? Or is it slowly disconnecting from the very thing that made it human? And that is why you need to watch the next video.